Welcome today to Industry Thursday. Sorry about the technical difficulties on the sound there, but we'll be sure to share the information maybe at the end if possible. But today, thank you for joining us. My name is Bailey Ranella. I am the program manager for the Corporate Fellowship Program, covering several of the middle states. And so welcome today. Excited to have 1150 Academy joining us. 1150 Academy is a 501c3 nonprofit partner of ours that specializes in coding and cybersecurity academy. So today we'll have Chris Hutchinson joining and sharing an overview of what 1150 has to offer. And so Chris, if you'll take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Bailey, and thank you everyone for being on the call. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to talk to you a little bit about 1150, and also thank you all for your service. It is greatly appreciated. If we could go to the next slide, please. Our panelists today, we will be available at the end of the conversation, and we'll answer questions. Either you can ask questions in the Q&A box, or you can reserve those questions for the end, but we're joined by a number of other 1150 folks, and we'll be able to, again, answer any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. Okay, so Bailey gave a brief introduction, but who we are, who's 1150? For those that aren't familiar, 1150 is a nonprofit coding and cybersecurity school that was created for people that were looking to kind of accelerate their careers and transform their lives. Within the last 12 to 16 months, 1150 has really had a growing focus on training and placing veterans into the tech ecosystem. And so within that time frame, we have been able to become an institution that is eligible for GI Bill benefit usage, and have quickly grown our student population to a little bit over 10% of our students are currently veterans, and that number continues to grow each month. And you know, we really have a laser focused curriculum in a couple of areas that we know that there are needs for in the tech ecosystem. And so through our immersive full and part-time courses, we currently have curriculum in cybersecurity, web development, software development, and UX UI design. And I'll get into a little bit more specifics on those programs and what that curriculum looks like. So continuing about who we are, what makes us really unique is that our programs are 16 times faster than a traditional four-year degree program. And that speed of program really is a benefit, not only because it gets you certified or trained faster and into the workforce, earning money quicker, but it also saves money as it relates to your GI Bill funding. That opens up opportunities not only for you, but for family members. It really extends the value of those GI Bill funds. Our programs, full-time programs, typically run 12 or 14 weeks, and our part-time programs are up to 24 weeks. What really makes 1150 unique in the space, and what we really kind of stand by, is our exceptional outcomes, particularly when compared to 2-year or 4-year degree programs. Currently, right now, we're operating at about a 90% graduation rate across all of our programs, and we're around a 70%, give or take, job placement rate. And that placement rate has continued even during the pandemic. We've seen higher demand actually for our graduates as more businesses move to more digital focus or online sales, et cetera. And so there's been even exceptional demand for our graduates, particularly during this COVID-19 pandemic. Again, our model is aggressive in its immersive nature, and it really saves folks going through our program nearly 4 years of delay in terms of getting into the tech fields. So there's an opportunity cost of about $250,000 that is a benefit by going through our program, by getting trained in 12 to 24 weeks as opposed to 2 or 4 years. It really gets you trained up and into the field much more quickly than some of the traditional models. Next slide, please. We work with over 150 different employer partners throughout Indiana and throughout the Midwest, the United States and beyond. This is just a small sample of some of those folks that we work with, but you can see we have a wide range of industry vertical markets that we work with, everything from tech companies to manufacturing to agriculture to healthcare to pharmaceutical. So the key point with this slide is that the skills that we're training you on are not just for tech companies. The skills that you're going to be learning and bringing to the table are applicable in a number of different vertical markets, and that's really what helps drive our demand for our students and our graduates. Next slide, please. So a couple things that make us different than others in this space, and I'll go through these here. You've heard me mention immersive learning, and what does that mean exactly? Again, if you're going to take some skills that are typically taught over 2 and 4 years and boil that into a 12 to 14 or 24-week program, sometimes conceptually that's hard to understand. So our immersive learning means that you're going to be in class with instructors, whether it's in an online environment or an on-ground environment, from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then you're going to go home and you're going to have work to do after class is over, whether that's a case study or a group project or homework or quizzes or whatever it may be that is preparing you for the next day of class. So it really literally is kind of a boot camp mentality for the weeks that you're in our program, and you're fully engaged and fully immersed in this programming, in the program that you select. Interactions with full-time instructors, learning assistants, other classmates, et cetera. You're fully immersed into that program. Because of that full immersion, our programs are accelerated. You're going to move at a very fast pace, but we have kind of fail-safe set up so that as you're progressing through these programs, even if it's in an online environment, we have the capability for our learning instructors to kind of live look in over your shoulder and see if there is a student that is struggling with a particular concept. Even an online, that learning assistant can kind of pull that student out of the main classroom, get them up to speed on a private in a private side classroom. And so we're really trying to capture all of the potential needs and pitfalls that a student may have. Again, and our courses are really cutting edge as well. We're constantly evaluating our curriculum. We're making updated changes, sometimes in real time. We work very closely with our employer partners all over the country to ensure that specific skills that are in higher demand, that curriculum is being fused into our programs and that people are having an opportunity to capture those skills. And then lastly, one of the most important pieces of what separates us from others is just our career placement team. So we are not an academy where upon graduation, we just kind of throw your resumes out into the wind and see who is interested in hiring you. Our career placement and career services team engages with our students at about week 4 of the program. We typically give you about the first 3.5 to 4 weeks to get acclimated with the new program. You're definitely drinking from a fire hose, and so we want you to kind of settle in and understand kind of what you're in for in the processes. But in week 4, our career services team is going to begin sitting down and meeting with students individually, and also coming up with opportunities to participate in mock interviews, be engaged with our employer partners, work again on case studies with some real actual employer partners and get to know what their industry looks like. The benefit for that is not only does it ready you for a career in tech, but it also gives our employer partners an early opportunity to begin identifying prospective people that they may want to hire as early as 4 or 5 weeks into a program. So there is a lot of expectation expectation around readying your digital profile, being trained on LinkedIn, and adding components to make sure that upon graduation, you're not then having to start the career placement piece of this puzzle, but actually you've already been working on it for 10 plus weeks. Also, we have some core values that kind of fuels all of our decisions throughout the academy. We really foster a diverse culture. We are genuine and transparent and carry a lot of integrity in what we do. As I mentioned, we're very transparent with our results, and so quality is really a main driver of our success and how we evaluate our programs. We evaluate those programs through data analysis on a weekly basis through surveys to make sure that our students' expectations and our employer partners' expectations are being met. We obviously have a core value of learning and lifelong learning. We work incredibly hard as a team, and we try and have fun along the way. We work really hard and put in a lot of hours, but what makes us such an enjoyable place to work is the folks that we get to work with. Next slide, please. So why we really kind of think folks that are veterans would be successful at 1150 is kind of this from military boot camp to coding boot camp mentality. There's a lot of similarities in your backgrounds and how we're teaching our skills. So as I mentioned, we do accept the GI Bill from all military branches. And what we're seeing, particularly in the industry now, is that there is an extremely high demand for individuals with coding and cybersecurity skills in the tech field. And that demand was incredibly high even prior to the coronavirus. And so what we're seeing is as people are transitioning their workforces, there's even greater demand, particularly in cybersecurity and on the coding side. And so we see that skill demand is only going to continue to grow in response to what's going on in the real world. What we have found with veterans is that they really bring a specific grit and dedication and especially a mental toughness when they attend our boot camps. And so their ability to overcome failure and overcome challenges really serve them well in our boot camp. And again, your GI Bill benefits will cover the cost of not only the 1150 Academy, but also other components of that as well. Next slide, please. So I wanted to highlight 3 reasons why veterans are successful in our program. First, and you've kind of heard me belabor the point here, but veterans understand the concept of boot camp learning. In much the same way that you entered training at the military boot camp, it wasn't anything that you had ever experienced before. It was going to be an eye-opening experience. We do that in the same way. We're laying the foundation for you to build your skills in a really intensive, immersive environment, but it's also extremely rewarding. And so when you accomplish this, you know that you've accomplished something monumental because of all the effort and the work that has gone into it. Another reason that makes veterans very successful is you're a team player. You come from a team background. You have a team mentality. Veterans see the value in teamwork, but they also understand how to lead teams. And those skill sets are incredibly valuable to our employer partners and things that they are continually seeking out. Our coding and cybersecurity courses involve working within a team of developers. There's much of a team concept, problem solving, and identifying best solutions. And particularly in the tech field, a lot of those problem solving skills and solutions have to be done quickly, especially on the cybersecurity side. You can't have problems lingering and have your business suffering because of security issues. So that those factors all really play into the success of our veterans. And then one of the last reasons is you're a self-starter. In military training, you had to have that type of grit that you heard me discuss earlier. Well, that really goes into and goes for our students who attend our boot camps. They have to take training and dedication into their own hands. Nothing about our program is given to you. It is all self-earned. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the effort. It's not something that you can just show up and, fake your way through. So similar to your career in the military, you have to show up and you have to put in the time. And veterans really understand that, and they understand the idea of being a self-starter. And that's what really makes them great in the tech field, whether it's in coding or in cybersecurity. Next slide, please. So I'm going to walk you through an overview of our cybersecurity and coding courses, just to give you a little bit more of a background on them. By this time, you've heard me mention that it's immersive. We're definitely making sure that you understand that. But our immersive coding and cybersecurity courses are designed to really assist an individual in discovering and developing their strengths, particularly in the tech industry. We're constantly working on teaching the most relevant security and coding skills in today's tech ecosystem. And again, because of how we're set up in our interaction with employer partners, it is not uncommon for us to make curriculum changes in the middle of a program to make sure that we're updating relevant or important ideas or concepts that we're seeing evolve in real time. And you get that because of how we're set up as an institution. We also really want to grow your soft skills so that you're career ready upon graduation, particularly growing your skills and your soft skills as it relates to tech. We know that you're probably coming pretty polished, having a military background, but there are certain components and pieces that we're going to train you on that make you relevant and more user-friendly, so to speak, in the tech environment. And also, we're there to help you develop a polished entry-level professional in weeks as opposed to years. So again, going back to my previous comments, instead of a 2 or a 4-year path, you're going to have that accelerated in 12 to 24 weeks. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our course methodology for our cybersecurity program. Our cohorts are typically 25 or more students in our cybersecurity cohorts. And our cybersecurity program is a 14-week program full-time or 24-week part-time. And our part-time program is on nights and weekends. And our full-time program, as I mentioned, is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, with work in the evenings and on weekends as needed. What makes our cybersecurity program a little bit longer than our coding program is access to a cybersecurity range. We have a partnership with Cyberbit, which is a company out of Israel that developed a cyber range for utilization. We're really fortunate that 1150 was at one time the only boot camp in the country that had a partnership with Cyberbit, and we continue to utilize that range and give hands-on training for all of our students. From a curriculum overview standpoint, you're going to learn about the fundamentals. You're going to learn the preferred industry standard certifications, get advanced instruction, and then also you're going to participate in 14 different advanced attack scenarios. So not only are you going to work to defend those attack scenarios, but we also flip the script a little bit and make the students the attackers as well, so that you're better equipped to understand what to expect when you're in a cybersecurity role. Industry certifications in this program, you're working towards certifications in the CompTIA Net Plus and CompTIA Sec Plus. And as part of this program, you will sit for certifications upon completion of this. That's part of your tuition. And I hate sharing this stat because we can only get worse, but currently we're operating at 100% pass rate in those certifications. So David Witt, who I'll introduce later, he and his team are doing an excellent job on the cybersecurity side. Next slide, please. A little bit about our course methodology for our coding program. Our coding cohorts are about 30 or more students. Again, that is a 12-week full-time program or 24-week part-time program. The course style is a badge system, which is similar. We also use a badge system in the cybersecurity as well. And whether you're taking web development or software development, you're going to learn skills like .NET, HTML, and CSS or JavaScript. In the coding curriculum, the first 3 weeks is you're earning your gold badge. That's the fundamentals where you're building the foundation for your future career. The next 4 to 8 weeks is the blue badge, where you're kind of gaining the knowledge and accelerating that knowledge. And then the final 9 to 12 weeks is the red badge or transition, where you're polishing those skills. And upon graduation, you earn a certificate from 1150 Academy as well. The cool thing about our badges and how we have things set up is our badges are they're tied to specific metadata. And so in your digital profile and on LinkedIn, as you earn these badges, you're able to demonstrate those in your profile. And those badges are tied specifically to skills that employers are looking for. So if I'm an employer looking for someone that has a certain level of .NET skill, and I do a search in LinkedIn, your profile will be linked to that because you're showing demonstration of those badges. Next slide, please. So you heard me talk a little bit about the demand in both cybersecurity and coding, and I just kind of want to paint that picture a little bit so you have a better understanding of the needs for these skills nationally. Really, there's a critical shortage, and with that shortage, there's a tremendous opportunity for those that pursue training in this area. So based on some data from late 2019, there was currently 500,000 unfilled cybersecurity jobs in the United States. And the demand to available talent was a 1 to 2.4 gap. And again, this was prior to the recent pandemic. And every indication that we've seen and feedback from our employer partners is showing that this gap is only growing. Where some of our employer partners may have hired 1 to 2 folks, they're now looking to hire 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. So that gap is only growing, and the need for people in this skill set is only going to continue to grow as well. Next slide, please. So some U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics stated that by 2020, there was going to be 1.4 million computer science related jobs available to the public, and there was only going to be 400,000 computer science graduates to fill those roles. So what does that mean? Essentially, what's that is saying is that there's obviously a massive gap, but folks that are going through a full computer science degree program are going to be 2 to 4 years out before they're even eligible or available to go into the workforce. So with our immersive and fast-paced learning, you're getting into the environment to address that skill gap much quicker than a lot of other folks. Next slide, please. Just want to share some, next slide, please. Share some success stories. Ray is a software developer at Aprimo. He was in the military reserves for 10 years. He was a GI Bill recipient through 1150. He was a soft-taught coding hobbyist, and he attended 1150 in 2018, and he really wanted to gain employable soft and hard skills. He doubled his salary in just 3 months. He's incredibly happy with his new career, and he now has the finances to be able to do the things that he'd been wanting to do prior to joining the academy. Drew Blinko, and he's actually one of our panelists. He'll be on to answer questions as well. He's a bit more of a recent graduate from 1150. He's a full stack developer at Sigma Equipment. He was a Marine veteran. He's also a GI Bill recipient. He didn't enjoy his initial job after the service, but is much happier now. In order to stay kind of on time, we'll maybe show his success story video at the end of the presentation, but I do want to make sure that we leave enough time for questions. So sorry, Drew, but we'll show that video at the end as there's time. Next slide, please. So I know we've kind of bombarded you with a lot of information today. And again, hopefully we can sort through some of that through some of your questions that you may have at the end. But if you are interested in learning more, the next step would be to meet with one of our admissions advisors or admissions coaches. And that can be done through going to our website, 1150.org. And then there's an admissions or schedule a meeting function. And you can sit down, kind of walk through what your interests are. Our admissions coaches are going to identify what areas you have an interest in and walk you through more detail on our programs and get a better idea of what might be the best fit for you. And so that conversation can really happen at any time. After you meet with an admissions advisor, typically folks then would attend one of our free intro coding courses, either our coding online or our cybersecurity program. And again, it gives you a little bit of a taste or an insight into what our programs look like. Those free classes are usually 2 to 3 hours in length. And again, they're going to give you a sample of what it's like to be involved in our programs. Okay, so with that, I did want to kind of introduce some other folks, and I know that there's been some Q&A. I just haven't been able to keep up with it all. And so I will introduce folks, and then I will answer one of the questions here. But as I mentioned, what I'd like to have is Drew Blinko first introduce himself and just give a little bit of background on his experience with 1150. But then we also have Paul Wolf to answer any questions on our admissions process and the GI Bill usage. We have Abby Tambasco here to answer any questions about career services. And then we have Jonathan Hewer and Pete Zapula to address any questions that you might have about our coding curriculum. And then David Witt is here to answer any questions about our cybersecurity program. So one of the questions that I did just see that came across, and then Drew, I'll kick it to you for a second, is what is the total cost of tuition if we're using finances other than the GI Bill? So I'll talk to you about what our list prices are, but I want you to kind of hear my full explanation of that. So I'll put it in perspective that 99% of our students, whether they are vets or non-vets, receive some type of financial funding, whether it's scholarship or financial assistance to attend our programs. So our list price for our Coding Academy is $13,500, and our list price on our cybersecurity is $18,000. That all being said, prior to coronavirus pandemic, our students were paying on average about $3,000 to $3,200 out of pocket after other funding mechanisms and scholarships were made available. Recently, we're probably at about $0 out of pocket due to federal funds that have been made available through CARES Act. So those are our list prices, but it really would benefit to talk with an admissions coach to see exactly what you may qualify for before delving into the financials of that. With that being said, Drew, would you mind just giving a couple minutes of explaining your background, what you're doing now, and your experience with 1150?
Yeah, so as Chris mentioned, I am a Marine Corps veteran. I got out of the Marine Corps in 2016. I wanted to be a police officer, so I went to school for criminal justice. I ended up needing some money, so I started just working as a correctional officer in Indiana for a little while. I worked there for about a year and a half. I applied to multiple police departments. I basically ended up deciding that I didn't want to be a cop or any sort of correctional officer. I needed a cognitive challenge. I have always enjoyed exercising my brain muscle. I guess we can call it my brain muscle. So I had previously taught myself coding in the military for a little bit. I knew that there were coding camps available, so I kind of started doing my research, and basically after the Forever GI Bill that was passed, that's when places like 1150 started allowing GI Bill to be used for apprenticeships and stuff, and technical certificates. So I found out 1150 was close. I actually ended up within probably 4 weeks going up there, applying, signing up for the course, and quitting my job, and saved up enough money, sold some stuff. I actually lived away from, I live in southern Indiana, so I lived away from my fiance at that time for 3 months to pursue this. kind of just jump into it, risk a lot to just take a chance, and I did. Don't regret it at all. Made some great friendships. I love what I do now. I actually like going to work. Not many people can say that, and yeah, that's my story. So I also am starting my own business. I can do that because I have, I love what I do, so I do it even when I'm not working. So
Awesome. Thanks, Drew.
yep.
It looks like David looked to answer a question. So one of the other questions was, what if an individual holds a Net Plus and a Sec Plus cert? Can the program be tailored to them? And David answered, we're currently building both out our, hey, David, why don't you answer that? David Witt, can you answer that question?
Yeah, sure thing. CISA Plus is how you say that. CISA Plus and PimTest Plus. And yes, you can always jump in on the range as well and get tested against any of the 14 scenarios, which is awesome. We do things like ransomware and DDoS attacked, cross-site scripting, which is really, really cool. But yeah, you can, if you have skills already and want to bring that to it, we can tailor the program for sure. So long answer, long, I guess.
No, and David, you're a Air Force veteran, correct?
Yes, sir. 6 years.
Can you, and you are the director of our cybersecurity program. Can you kind of just share your perspective as the director of that program and with your military background on how we're set up, and maybe kind of share with our audience members why it's a good fit?
It's a great fit because of the two certs, both Net Plus and Sec Plus. I think that's a great way to get the employer's attention on a resume. Also with a clearance, which is very, very important usually in a lot of the DoD positions. Sec Plus is a minimum in that career field. They just came out with that recently, and so with those two, and then being able to get the hands-on experience that we use on the range, which is just, I never got that when I was a student way back in the day. We'd always talk about concept. Well, being able to, if I talk about a firewall, being able to jump on a firewall, block traffic, and see how that works, and really just put hands-on really is, I know it's vital. I can't even put words to it, to be honest with you, how important that really is, and really helps just solidify the information.
Thanks, David. There's another question. How intensive is the part-time program? Currently in active duty, looking to work on coding skills while I am still in. So we've had people that have worked full-time and have participated in our part-time program, but I'd like for Jonathan, our Chief Learning Officer, to maybe be able to go in a little bit more detail on that. Jonathan, can you answer that question, please?
Yeah, so the basic answer is you need to be prepared to spend 15 to 25 hours a week working on your coding skills, even in the part-time program. As Hutch has pointed out, there's a pretty direct connection between the amount of time that you spend and the part-time class, just to add a little bit more context, is slightly different. At some level, you have more time to cognitively absorb a lot of the principles and other foundational things, but you have less time every single day. So it's a little bit more like trying to learn a foreign language in high school for an hour a day. It doesn't stick as well. So it is definitely possible, but if you can find 20 hours a week, one of the first things I always tell students to do is to block off that time in their calendar, and you stick with it. You'll be fine. You can also, it's better to try to separate out a little bit rather than do 8 hours Sunday, 8 hours Saturday, and call it a week. But generally speaking, it's flexible for a reason, and there's a lot of people who are parents and have a lot of other obligations who do our part-time classes. So we're pretty flexible around all of that, but it really just comes down to putting in the time every week.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. And one thing I'll just add in there, because we've actually had people ask before if it's possible to work and do the full-time program, and it's not. So to Jonathan's point, there's a lot of hours that you need to carve out in the part-time, but it is not possible to work full-time and go through the full-time program.
Also,
yeah,
I should probably just add real quick, our part-time programs don't qualify for GI Bill because they're based on classroom hours. So just something to note real quick.
Thanks, Jonathan. It looks like there was a question. Are there any benefits or scholarships available for military spouses? Paul, Paul, are you on? Are you able to address that? And Paul, you're on mute. Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah. Are there any benefits or scholarships available for military spouses? Can you address that?
Yes, we do have options as far as progressive income share agreements that we have in place. We would have to see if they qualify for those. There are different qualifications. So that's why, once again, meeting with an admissions person will be extremely valuable in that discovery session to understand a little bit more about what options are available there. But there are some options out there that are available for spouses and others.
Great. Thanks, Paul. I don't see any other open questions at this time. Just want to make sure if people do have questions, they have the opportunity to ask those.
And Chris, is there the best way to contact you or contact the team if they do have more questions in the future? Yeah,
the best way would be to visit 1150.org, and if you go to our final slide, I don't know if you're still sharing or not, but here I'll put it in the. I'll share the web address with everybody. And once there, it didn't space it properly. Sorry, hold on. I can't obviously do two things at once. Once you're at our site, there is a speak with an admissions team member button that you can click on, and you can set up an appointment that way. That would probably be the best first step. If you're more interested in attending one of our free classes first, you can do that as well. You can go to the same website, 1150.org, and you can sign up under the courses. You can find some of our free coding and cybersecurity courses, and we offer those free courses weekly. It just depends. Sometimes it's on Wednesdays, sometimes it's on Saturdays. And then it does look like there was a question that came through. It said, is there any benefit from the CARES Act currently available? And yes, we are set up in Indiana right now to accept CARES funding for all of our programs, regardless of degree status or employment status. And currently, we are accepting the CARES Act funding for all of our programs. So each individual right now through CARES Act is eligible for $10,000 in funding, and we are accepting that as payment for any of our programs, including our UX UI program, which is a 8-week part-time program that is a $5,000 program. So yes, if you're in Indiana, you're eligible to utilize those CARES Act. I just want to be clear on the CARES Act funding component. We will accept it as long as the funding is available. There are some caveats about when working to get you finished and when there's a deadline and when those funds can be utilized. But again, if you contact one of our admissions advisors, they'll be able to walk you through all of those as well. It looks like another question was, hi, this person is living in Alabama. Is there a webcam required for attending remote? Jonathan, do you want to address that? I think I know the answer, but.
Yeah, we very much prefer that you have a webcam so that there can be some good active engagement. We also do certain things like mock interviews and other parts where it's just better to be engaged because to be blunt, there's just a lot of practice. That being said, we also know people have bandwidth issues, and you know, there's been a lot of questions that have been asked over the years, and so we tend to be as flexible as possible. But for the best engagement and to be clear, the best student experience, it's much better to have a webcam.
And also, Corey, who asked that question, thank you. I do believe through GI Bill, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but GI Bill does actually, you can utilize some of those funds for equipment as well. So I believe that you would be able to find a way to either get a new computer or a webcam if needed. And then another question, does the CARES Act benefit apply to remote or online participants? Yes, it does. And again, not to belabor the point, but right now we're only in a position to be able to accept CARES Act dollars for those folks that are from Indiana. We're exploring opportunities in other states, but it's been it's been a kind of a drinking from a fire hose and juggling a lot of that. We're based in Indiana, and so we're obviously a little bit more familiar with those rules. But yes, you can utilize CARES Acts in Indiana for the online program. Any other questions from any of the attendees? Yeah.
Someone did ask a question about how often do we start classes. We do have classes that start in November that are part-time right now that we're currently enrolling for. But typically speaking, yes, every month we do have classes starting. Just depends on whether they're part-time or full-time. And we can walk you through that too in the admissions process as well.
Thanks, Paul.
And just to address the next question, Corey asked if there's an option to attend on campus if you don't live in the area. Right now, we do open our offices to students who want to visit the campus to have a nice, quiet place to learn. But we're currently doing all classes remotely. We are going to be moving back to in-person operations as soon as it is safe and appropriate for everyone to do so. And at that point, obviously, you'd be more than welcome to come in person. And there will be a live person there. Right now, depending on the situation and the scenario, some people, you know, there might be a situation where the students are in person and the instructor's not, and various people are doing hybrid type of learning environments. But we definitely love to have people come in person, and it just makes certain things a little easier too.
It looks like Corey then asked if we accept, and I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this, VOC rehab. Paul, are you familiar with that vocational rehab, I'm assuming?
Yeah, currently we're in the process of getting approved for the voc rehab right now. So
okay, sorry. Looks like, yeah, to follow up on that, it looks like we're in the process, but Corey, not fully approved yet for voc rehab.
No, I'm sorry. We are approved for voc rehab. Sorry,
Gotcha.
I got confused between voc rehab and vet tech. Sorry, vet tech we are not. So there was a confusion there. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
But yes, we are approved for voc rehab.
Perfect. And on the vet tech piece, just for those on this, we are on the process of working on that, to Paul's point, and we're hoping to have that finalized. Dewan, do you have any thoughts on the vet tech piece? I just saw you pop up. I didn't know if you wanted to interject anything.
Oh no, you're exactly
Okay.
right. We're pretty close to it. Yep.
Yeah. So that hopefully will be something that we have sewn up here sooner than later. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Bailey, I didn't know if anything came through that I missed.
Not that I saw. I think the only question that I have that I get asked a lot as a fellowship program manager is, when do you recommend people do it? So say they're active duty, they know when they get out, they're interested in pursuing a career in coding or cybersecurity, when do you recommend active duty personnel do probably the part-time program?
Yeah, it really kind of depends on each individual and their abilities. So again, a conversation with an admissions team member is probably the appropriate step, because some folks may have greater bandwidth than others, and depending on exactly what their responsibilities are in active is really going to dictate from a scheduling standpoint. Paul, did you have any thoughts on that? Anything different than what I'm saying?
Exactly. Just depends on, what responsibilities is, time that they're going to have. There are required hours when you're using benefits, so we would have to talk about those things and figure out how that would align each week, and really kind of putting yourself in a good position to have success in the program.
I could kind of maybe.
Yeah, Drew, please.
Normally, so like I got out of the Marine Corps, my EAS was like January 16th, and I got to take leave before that. So I got to take my terminal leave. So if you have terminal leave, that's the perfect time. You could start this and do full time, and if you have your GI Bill, you can use your GI Bill, so you'll get BA, you'll get your BAH. So it's very beneficial if you can, and you are going to wait towards the end. If you can, I would go full time and do it if you can get your terminal leave. Maybe because I got like a month and a half, and that's half the program right there. And I was still getting my military pay plus my BA when I was in college. So that can help a lot. So yeah, if terminal leave was probably the best option if you can.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew. Bailey, any other questions?
I don't see any other questions have come in, but
This will be updated on your website, right? So that my presentation will be available there as well.
yes, yeah. So a reminder, if you scroll up in the chat, this presentation was recorded and it will be available on the Hiring Our Heroes career community to watch again. If you want to see the answers, any questions or anything, feel free to watch that and check that out there.
I'll go ahead. I'm just going to put my email address in here as well. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to email me directly and I can get you connected. Or like I mentioned, you can also go to 1150.org and it's real self-explanatory. We have a veteran specific section on our website. And there's also buttons very visible to schedule a meeting with an admissions coach. But please don't hesitate to reach out and contact us. We'd love the opportunity to tell you more about the programs and see if it's a great fit for you.
Great.
So thank you, Hiring Our Heroes. Thanks to all the attendees, and Bailey, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, so thank you all to the 1150 team for joining us today, sharing this great information, this great opportunity for people to get some great skills to move on to their next career. So I think that's the end of our session for today for Industry Thursday. And also, if anyone has a question directly for me, feel free to find me on LinkedIn and we will go from there. So here's the website again. So thank you all for joining us and have a great day.